Testing one, two. Hi, guys. Donnie Rouse here. And have you ever felt like your mind has been out of control where you feel like it's going at 1,000 miles an hour and that there is no possible way for you to stop it? Fortunately or unfortunately, this is actually a state that I tend to go in every so often. And I think part of the reason that I get into this uncomfortable state is when I am too focused on doing work and I seclude myself too much from like my friends. And so in essence, this serves as a reminder for me to one, to just get out and start enjoying more. And then secondly, to shift the focus in what I'm looking at. And so I'll share with you the experience now and give you my methodology and my best approach, an approach that works 100% of the time, so long as I use it. But when I remember it, it just brings serenity into my life, and I know it will do the same for you. So over the past, I would say, few weeks, I've been focusing on a lot of projects, so much so that it was a little bit overwhelming. I have the move to Miami. I have growing my coffee business, the launch of my One Life course. I don't even know what else. There's like several other things, but needless to say, everything was happening at once. And as a result, like I didn't know where to put my energy and I felt very fragmented. So in that moment, so I'm just started to buckle down and I started just to stay and try to get all the work done. As you can imagine, when you do that and it's good to have focus, but at the same time, there has to be some kind of counterbalance. You got to spend time with people who are important to you. You got to make time to just release, have fun, and allow your mind to kind of let go and reorganize. But I wasn't doing that. And as a result of not doing that, what I end up doing when I am in the state of mind is one, I start to compare myself. And it's never a favorable comparison, right? You look at all the reasons why, like, your life is shit and, like, everyone else has it better from you. And then also, I start to compare, I start to be very critical of other people. And what I want you to come away with, because it is my understanding, and when I catch myself, I'm like, oh man, yeah, I see how it's the mirror. Essentially it's a mirror effect, right? How you are on the outside is also how you are within. So when I'm critical of other people, I'm very much critical with myself. And I was talking to one of my friends, my friend Alex, and we were just talking about um, conditioning, like as you get older, like the conditioning that happens from your environment. And he was saying how he felt like he was always very positive, and I told him that I thought the same thing as well for myself. And but I remember when I became aware of like the voices in my head, like just like about being self-critical, and I'm like, oh my god, like I mean, I do say my tendency is to always be more optimistic, is to look more towards the positive. But then there would be these voices saying all the reasons why I can't, or it won't work. And maybe that is that's there, and that has nothing to do with the positive, but it was there in the background, and I became more aware of it, and it shook me at first because I was like, holy shit, like I had no idea. Like, I knew that there was conditioning, and like I could hear some of the conditioning even from my childhood sometimes, where I would hear like maybe like my father comment on a certain thing in my mind, and then and I would see the result, but I never found myself being so critical of myself. So I know this being self-critical was something that was in that I had. And whenever this would happen, literally it would tailspin and I would feel more separate from everyone around me. I wouldn't even want to go out because I either went out and I would feel like I was less because, I'm comparing myself unfavorably to everyone else, or, I just felt like I was so separate because, oh, they're like this. And, and trying to, it's like almost like trying to put yourself on a pedestal, but it's like a fake pedestal because you're, how you are judging other people, you're also judging yourself. So the way out of it, how do you get out of this when you're in this tailspin, when your mind's going a million miles an hour, when you're constantly comparing yourself to others and you're being critical of others as well as yourself because, it's a two-way street. The easiest way that I've always found, and it is something I always go back to, is I look for divinity in the other person. I and when I say divinity, one, I look for God's essence in other people, but also I look at them as as both of us sharing that same essence and realizing that what I'm judging at them, I'm judging myself, and the love I give them, I'm loving myself. And I start to appreciate people. When I start to appreciate people and the journey they're on, all of a sudden, like the weight is lifted off my shoulders. All of a sudden, I feel closer to the individual. And life just feels lighter. And so I say this because I want, if this is something that you've experienced in the past, to try this approach on just to see how it fits. Like one, realizing that know better, do better, right? If people knew better, if you knew better, you would do better. So when you're being super critical about yourself, like of yourself, realize, you're just doing the best you can, and so is everybody else. And secondly, again, looking for the divinity in other people, realizing that like this person is a child of God. This person is, right? And you all share this same essence in that when you see that person as yourself, you have nothing but love and appreciation for that person. And you don't see him as a disconnected, but you see yourself as connected. This, I think, when I first came across this mindset, I mean, I think it's a spiritual practice, I'm sure. It was because I was reading a book by Mother Teresa, and I don't recall the title because I think she has several books, but it was always about looking at the other person and seeing divinity in that person. And in her case, it was the poorest of the poor in the slums of Calcutta. And I remember that really, really shaped how I interact with other people and how I saw the world. One of the reasons, so my friend Alex was telling me, is like, one of the things I admire about you is this way you interact with people, and I could say, I mean, I think part of it was intrinsic to just how I was brought up and like maybe my own kind of uniqueness, but a lot of it I would accredit it to this book. And so in closing, like when you are in that tailspin, the best way out of it is appreciation. To start to stop and look at the world, and rather than judge it, just start to appreciate the stuff around you. And it might be when you're in it, it freaking sucks, right? Because it's extremely difficult to try to go into a mode of appreciation when you're just like critical because you're like, I don't freaking feel like being appreciative. I don't want to say why I'm grateful for this, or whatever, but you have to. And what you'll notice is just by starting to change the way you perceive, change the way you focus on something, all of a sudden it's a little thread that's being woven. And you'll start to feel a little bit lighter, and then that lightness starts to grow. And then pretty soon you start to, you're back in this moment. You're no longer on cloud nine where, you were just 5 minutes ago, orbiting at like a million miles an hour. But now you're back on Earth. And that appreciation is the magic, because now all of a sudden you're connected with the moment, you're connected with the people around you. And I hope this in some way helps you, because like I said, I'm sure everyone goes in these states. Nobody. I remember I went to a hypnosis one time, and I don't remember exactly what it was I was sharing, and the person doing the hypnosis was like, everybody goes through this. It's just that nobody talks about it. So that's a good thing to remember when you feel like you're alone, when you feel like no one else could understand what it is you're going through. Realize that we all are, we all have to deal with the human condition. We all have struggles with something. And it's just that nobody talks about it, right? So if anything, like if there's any part of me that if I want to give anything out of this post here, is for you just to know that you're not alone in whatever you're feeling, that everyone is faced with some kind of dilemma, some kind of problem. But what makes it easier is seeing, seeing yourself in the other person and realizing that we are all on that same journey and we're all dealing with the same thing, and that it is through each other that we are better equipped to deal with these little problems that are most of the time are not even freaking there, right? They're figure of our imagination. But that it gives us, that's the way to get through with it, is with other people around us. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope it again makes you realize that you're not alone in this, and that it just can maybe like lightens that burden a little bit, but also allows you to look at the other person that's next to you, maybe the person you've been criticizing, and just to look at them differently, to appreciate them, and to let go of the judgment. So this way you can let go of the judgment of yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast, guys. Remember to hit that subscribe button. Share this post with 5 people whom you think would benefit from it, who wouldn't benefit from slowing down their mind and just appreciating the people around them. And remember, you only get one life. Live fully, live presently. Wow, I just messed up my own quote. Live fully, live passionately, and most of all, live now. God bless you, and I will see you again soon.